about today is deeply, deeply, deeply understanding the customer, the person who buys from Mindvalley Publishing. And I'm going to share with you insights from a really remarkable book that completely blew my mind. And it helped me realize that how we were viewing our customer and therefore how we were doing our marketing and creating our products was in a way wrong. So the book is called The Cultural Creatives, and it's by a guy called Paul Ray, who is a sociologist and economist. And Paul Ray proposes that in the US, there are 3 different subcultures. So Americans are not one uniform culture. Because the country is so wide, they kind of split apart into 3 different cultures. You have the cultural creatives, which I'm going to talk about in a second. You have the modernists and the traditionals. Now, the cultural creatives are people who are the kind of people who buy from Mindvalley. They watch Oprah. They love the green movement. They meditate. They love yoga. Then you have the modernists. They're quite different. Modernists tend to be younger. They tend to be people who are into technology. Silicon Valley is a very much modernist culture. San Diego, Austin are really cultural creative type cities. Then the traditionals are completely different. The traditionals include the 30 million plus evangelicals in America. The traditionals would typically vote Bush. They tend to be Republican. They tend to be all about church and country. So all 3 of these cultures are really different. Now the thing is, they are so different that the way you market to them, the way you talk to them also has to be radically different. And when we understood this, we could come up with a lot more ways to innovate in terms of Mindvalley Publishing and how we market and how we create products. So Paul Ray, who came up with the term cultural creatives, in an interview he was asked, how did you come up with it? Well, he says it took a long time. We tried calling it different things, from green to person-centered, and a whole lot more terms that felt like they were about opinions, but that didn't capture what we saw. Then I saw the way cultural creatives are innovating in American life. These are the people who are being really creative culturally, not technologically like the internet, but with new kinds of businesses, new movements, new ways of life, new ways of seeing the world. Think about that. Doesn't that sound a lot like Mindvalley? New ways, new businesses, new movements, new ways of life, new ways of seeing the world. Okay, now we also have Mindvalley Technology, which tends to be a lot of modernist. But the larger chunk, Mindvalley Publishing, tend to embrace this. Now, the thing about cultural creatives is that, firstly, they are quite wealthy. A lot of people used to think that people who buy personal growth products like meditation and stuff were less educated, were in the lower income group. Not true. If you look at these income stats, now this is a screenshot from Paul Ray's website, culturalcreatives.org. But if you look at the screenshot, you'll see that the percentage of cultural creatives who are earning like from 0 to 25K, which is the lowest income the lowest income group, is actually less than moderns or traditionals. And in fact, if you look at the higher income groups, like 25 to 50K, cultural creatives dominate. So cultural creatives are actually upper middle class. They are richer than the average American. The other thing about cultural creatives, which is really interesting, is that they are predominantly women. Cultural creatives are 60% women. And you will notice this in our demographics as well. If you look at the Finer Minds fan page on Facebook, it's 67% women. We are definitely like catering to cultural creatives. One more thing about cultural creatives, which is really interesting, they are well educated. See, this again was mind-blowing, because if I had asked, I remember having a discussion with Eva 2 years ago, and she was convinced that people who bought from us were less educated. Not true. In fact, if you look at the percentage of the 3 subcultures that have which are college graduates, cultural creatives have the highest percentage. The percentage which have a basic education, mostly traditionals. Okay, so they tend to be far more educated. They also tend to be predominantly white. So it doesn't mean that there are no Hispanics or blacks in the cultural creative group, but what it means is that it's a smaller percentage. Now, the thing about this and why this is so important is that because when you're marketing, okay, people tend to look at demographics. So they say, all right, my average visitor is 45-year-old woman from San Diego. But that's not the right way to look at it. Instead, what you want to look at are the values that these visitors have. So don't look at demographics, look at values. So this part gets interesting. For predicting anyone's lifestyle, purchasing habits, social concerns, spirituality, etc., all demographics are poor predictors to actual behavior, while values are excellent predictors. So you shift from marketing to values rather than marketing to a particular age group. This was a big aha for us. So values, not demographics. So traditional marketers sometimes talk about this group of consumers called LOHAS, Lifestyles of Health and Sustainability. And according to Paul Ray, this wasn't the best way to do it. What he says is that if you're looking at LOHAS, you would completely not see that there's this whole subculture called cultural creatives. And what you really want to do is to market to this subculture by appealing to their values. Now, this applies to everything from the design to video, to how you write copy. So understanding the values and what makes a cultural creative is really important. And here I'm speaking to people who are watching this on Mindvalley Insights, who are authors or who run publishing companies catering to the personal growth market. If you understand the cultural creative and what that demographic is and what values they have, this is going to allow you to make massive innovations in terms of your marketing. So, a couple of things, okay? Firstly, don't generalize. Cultural creatives are really diverse in terms of age. You can meet 15-year-old cultural creatives, you can meet 80-year-old cultural creatives, but they share the same values and they respond to the same products and the same styles. Now, there are three cultural tides, okay? So let's look at them individually so you can see the difference between these three tides. So the first is the Heartlanders, sometimes called the traditional. So these are the religious right. They want traditional relationships. They are religious conservatives. They have conventional religious beliefs. They are largely against feminism in work, at least according to Paul Ray. Now, there's nothing right or wrong about this. This is simply their beliefs, no more different from our beliefs being different from someone in, say, the Middle East or in China. It's just a different set of beliefs. Then you have the modernists. They believe in financial materialism. They're about success, getting rich. They are not on the religious right. In fact, they actually fear the religious right. They dislike Fox News. They dislike right-wing Christianity. They are not self-actualizing, so they also fear spirituality. In fact, many modernists tend to lump religion and spirituality in the same box. They are not too idealistic. Secular tend to believe nature is sacred, have orthodox religion and beliefs. Success is a high priority. Then you have the cultural creatives, quite different. So they are xenophiles, which means they like travel. They like things which are foreign, which is really different from the traditionalists, which are all about America first. They see nature as sacred. They have green values. Relationships are important. Success is not a high priority. They are more about impact, about contribution, not so much money as contribution. It doesn't mean they dislike money, but it doesn't sway them as much as it does, say, the modernists. Modernists, for example, a lot of them you'd find in Wall Street, in Silicon Valley. They want to get rich really quick, create amazing inventions, make a big difference in the world. But their difference involves getting wealthy, launching businesses. For cultural creatives, their difference often involves doing something good, volunteering for NGO, raising kids. Pro-feminism in the workplace, which is not surprising since 60% are women, and not concerned about own job. They want self-actualization. What this means is that they crave growth. They want to get to higher states of like human consciousness. They don't believe in financial materialism. They want to be activist. They don't have financial problems generally because they tend to be upper middle class. They believe in spiritual psychology. They're optimistic about the future. They want creative time. They tend to be really creative. Now, these cultures behave really differently, and they even respond to technologies and websites differently. And this is where companies sometimes get into difficulty. So there's this service which launched online called weboftrust.org. And Web of Trust is basically a service where anyone can go and rate websites. And the guys who created it, I know them, they are pretty cool. And what they wanted to do was create a really awesome service so that we know which websites to trust. Problem is, on Web of Trust, if you go there, Mindvalley, which gets amazing publicity, which everyone calls a game-changing company, is considered a scam. Look, we get low ratings for trustworthiness, vendor reliability, privacy, child safety, even though we're winning awards such as World's Most Democratic Workplace, we're being on TV and stuff. Why is this? Well, let me explain why. Web of Trust was created by modernists. It's a geek tool. And when a new technology comes to the market, the first people to embrace this technology tend to be modernists. Cultural creatives do not embrace technology as much as modernists. Remember, the average cultural creative is a woman who's 44 years old. Modernists tend to be younger, male, very tech savvy. So the people who embrace Web of Trust first are the modernists. And to the modernists, spirituality is as disliked as religion. So when they see that they come to Mindvalley and they see that we are selling, we are a publisher of personal growth products in the spiritual market, we are considered a scam. it's really, really, really serious. So Facebook actually, for a while, was using Web of Trust to decide what links they would allow you to post on Facebook. And some of our Mindvalley authors like Bert Goldman, who have massive followings on Facebook, 75,000 fans, couldn't share their blog post because Web of Trust labeled their website, bertgoldman.com or theamericanmonk.com, scammy. Now, I happen to be speaking to an investor in Web of Trust. He's one of the guys who helped start this company. I explained this model to him. He understood, and Web of Trust is working on changing this. They understand that they are no longer accurate because they forgot to pay attention to the difference in cultural demographics in the US. So different cultures behave differently. So this is you can tell this is a modernist. This is what he said about Mindvalley on Web of Trust. This entire website is a scam. They spam their junk around and try to trick others into buying it. Nothing trustworthy. It's all about this operation. This is a cultural creatives. And he's talking to someone else here. I followed their links, watched their videos, listened to their audio files, checked into their programs. I feel the people at Mindvalley have given me so much, so very much for free. I should send them a check to be fair. So here we have a cultural creative defending us against a modernist. Now it's okay, the modernists just tend to be close to spirituality and people who sell spirituality because of their disdain for religion. And they sometimes put both into the same box. So you really want to understand who you're communicating with. Now, let's get back to cultural creatives, right? Here are a couple of good trends about cultural creatives. Firstly, cultural creatives, CCs for short right now, they are growing. In the 60s, their numbers were too few to measure. In 1995, it was 23.6% of the US population. By 1999, 26%. Now, these are based on surveys that they give people, asking people, surveys that attempt to determine people's values. So you can see they're growing really rapidly. Now, the interesting thing that happens is that moderns are being recruited into cultural creatives. So what happens is traditionals and heartlanders are declining. The children of traditionals and heartlanders grow up, rebel against traditional values, become modernist. But as they get older, they start discovering Oprah, spirituality, personal growth books. They become cultural creatives. So traditionals are shrinking as a group. Cultural creatives are growing. This is actually a good thing for our business. It's a great thing for the industry. Now, these are cultural creatives' responses to questions in that survey. It helps give you an idea of how different they are from, say, traditionals or modernists. Okay, so the question was, I agree with the people who see the whole earth as a giant living organism. 73% of CCs agree, 47% of others. Now, this is a screenshot again from Paul Ray's website. Cultural creative surveys on spirituality. Look, human capacities probably include some psychic power, knowing the future, communicating with spirits, etc. 64% agree from the cultural creative group. I have been born again in Jesus Christ. Mostly they disagree. 66% disagree. So you can see it's really different. I believe in the literal truth of the Bible, including the world's creation in 6 days. 70% of cultural creatives disagree with that statement. I live life before this life and may be born again. 30% agree versus 13% from a regular group. So they tend to embrace spirituality in larger numbers than the other groups. They tend to also, like the modernists, reject some organized religion. Now, again, it's important to know how your groups respond because their values are really different. So on Finer Minds, I shared a video it was a viral video online about Proposition 8 and about why gay people deserve the right to marry. Okay, so it was a video which I really loved. It got really viral, shared it, but you can see different people in Finer Minds responded differently. So this guy, Ojo, said, Finer Minds, so this is what you want to be using your page for, advancing the cause of gay marriage? Please, I'm not for that kind of enlightenment. I'm already looking for a delete button. And then there are other people who said, who supported me, like Pam, be who you are, may you not judge anyone. Now, some people told me, Vishen, why are you doing this? You're being stupid. You're pissing off a large chunk of your customers. But the thing is, I'm being strategic because I want to talk to our customers. I want to relate to our market, which is cultural creatives. And I know that by and large, our customers will appreciate us because we support this video. Now check this out, right? If you actually look at the likes, you will see that, now my response was this to Ojo. We'll be sorry to see you go, Ojo. It's not about advancing the cause of gay marriage. It's about letting people know that hating someone because of their way of life, because of religious dogma or intolerance is not okay. Proposition 8 is nasty, is a nasty, hateful piece of legislation. Now check it out. Ojo had 2 likes to his comment. My response had 16 likes. So you can clearly tell that even though some of the cultural creatives are not responding to Ojo, they support this. And again, this is the kind of ballsiness that I believe is needed in the industry. You want to speak to your market. You want to be the voice of your market. It's important. It doesn't matter if we piss off a few traditionals. It's totally okay, because the cultural creatives are our market, and that's the market we want to support. So we want to show that we share similar values. So again, don't worry about every now and then raising controversy and doing something controversial. Yes, a few people will get pissed off, but these people do not buy from you anyway. Now, one more thing that's important for people to understand is that paranormal is not spirituality. Some of my modernist friends said, whoa, you believe in intuition? Whoa, that's like believing in like psychics and like aliens and shit like that. It's not. It's completely different. So these again are surveys of like cultural creatives, right? Now, you can see that 9% maybe believe in channeling or allowing a spirit being to temporarily assume control of the body. 41% don't believe in intuition. Two completely different things. Paranormal and spirituality are really separate. Even though cultural creatives and traditionals come from two completely different subcultures, they believe in things that the modernists see as being similar, but are in fact really different. One more thing that's interesting, because cultural creatives tend to be higher educated, cultural creatives also tend to break one common stereotype, and that is that people who are less educated believe in the paranormal. Actually, it's not true. If you actually look at surveys, people who are more educated believe in the paranormal. It's really interesting, but for example, Journey of Abnormal Psychology found that people who report seeing a UFO or alien are not less intelligent or psychologically unhealthy, which is a big contradiction to what we commonly believe. But here's where it gets interesting. If you look at this chart, you'll understand why. You'll see that modernists embrace things such as yoga. Meditation is now okay amongst modernists. Qigong, the placebo effect. Now these same things are embraced by cultural creatives, but cultural creatives go a little bit beyond. They don't just embrace yoga, they embrace remote viewing, astral projection, out-of-body experience, energy healing. Now modernists do not believe in these things. So a modernist viewer who comes to our website and sees that we are publishing an author who is talking about energy healing will call it scammy. But they are okay with yoga and meditation. They believe in different things. Now when you get to traditionals, they believe in completely different things. They believe in demons, ghosts, miracles, fate healers. So modernists will believe in a placebo effect, a cultural creative will believe in energy healing, a traditional will believe in a faith healer. So for example, we used to have someone who was a traditional doing customer support in Mindvalley. And I didn't realize she was a traditional when I hired her, and I didn't care. I knew she was very religious about church, but it turned out to be a problem because she was doing customer support for our audience, which buys meditation products, but she believed that if you meditate and clear your mind, you get possessed by demons. That's what her church had told her. She came from Zimbabwe. And so again, we're not here to judge the beliefs, but what I'm simply trying to show is that within this spectrum, it's really different. This is paranormal. Cultural creatives do not believe in paranormal. They do not believe in faith healers. They do not, many of them, some believe in ghosts, but I guess an equal number do not. They certainly do not believe in demons. And they may believe in miracles, but they probably define them as different from traditional miracles. But cultural creatives believe in this. Now what's happening is, as the personal growth industry reaches different levels of market sophistication, what you see over here starts sliding over here. So meditation at once was woo-woo. Now it's acceptable. Everyone's doing it. Yoga was really weird to an American who would observe it in the 1970s. Now it's really hot. Now, self-actualization, this is another important point, right? Cultural creatives strive for self-actualization. In traditional marketing, they tell you that people are crazy about sex, money, health. Sex, money, health. Not true for cultural creatives. They have another criteria, self-actualization. They want to actually discover new aspects of themselves. So here's a typical example. I was talking to Amir Ahmad, the guy who, some of you might know him, actually most of you know him, but he's the co-founder of Mindvalley Arabic. Now when Amir joined Mindvalley, Amir was completely modernist, really tech savvy, totally brilliant guy, completely close to spirituality. Amir yesterday told me that in the last 3 years, he's slowly become a cultural creative. In fact, he's now heading to Thailand to spend 10 days at a Vipassana meditation retreat. It's really interesting because at one point, he was completely against meditation. Now, why is he doing it? Because as you start moving into becoming a cultural creative, Self-actualization becomes an important driver. I don't know why, I don't know the exact reasons Amir wants to go meditate in Thailand for 10 days, but he wants to because inside he believes that this is a better way to become self-actualized. He's not doing it for sex or money or health. So that's another key point. When you're marketing the cultural creatives, a lot of marketers think they have to bring it back down. Learn meditation so your sex lives improve, so your health improves. But they got to remember that to the cultural creative market, learning meditation just so they can get more spiritual, or they can get in touch with their inner self, or they can transform their lives, or they can feel connectedness is almost as important. Okay, so now we're going to do a quick quiz, right, to see if you are a cultural creative. So I'm going to ask these questions and mentally give yourself a point if you answer yes. So at the end, you can do it mentally or you can take it down, it's up to you. So the first question is, you're likely to be a cultural creative if you love nature and are deeply concerned about its destruction. Give yourself a 1 if you agree to that. Second, strongly aware of the problems of the whole planet, global warming, destruction of rainforests, overpopulation, lack of ecological sustainability, and want to see more action on them, such as limiting economic growth. Would pay more taxes or pay more for consumer goods if you could know the money would go to clean up the environment and to stop global warming. Give yourself a point if you agree to that. Place a great deal of importance on developing and maintaining your relationships. Place a lot of value on helping other people and bringing out their unique gifts. You do volunteer work. Can care intensely about both psychological and spiritual development. See spirituality or religion as important in your life, but are concerned about the role of the religious right in politics. Want more equality for women at work and more women leaders in business and politics. Are concerned about violence and abuse of women and children around the world. You want our politics and government spending to put more emphasis on children's education and well-being, on rebuilding our neighborhoods and communities, and on creating an ecologically sustainable future. Are unhappy with both the left and the right in politics and want to find a new way that is not in the mushy middle. Tend to be somewhat optimistic about our future and distrust the cynical and pessimistic view that it is given by the media. Want to be involved in creating a new and better way of life in your country. Are concerned about what big corporations are doing in the name of making more profits, downsizing environmental problems, and exploiting poorer countries. Have your finances and spending under control and are not concerned about overspending. Dislike all the emphasis in modern culture on success and making it, on getting and spending, on wealth and luxury goods. Like people in places that are exotic and foreign, and like experiencing and learning about other ways of life. Okay, everybody got their score? So, traits. So these are a couple of traits for cultural creatives, right? So now, when you understand the traits that cultural creatives have, you understand how to create products, businesses that really appeal to them. So the first one is reaction to ads. This is really important to marketers. Advertisers and marketing strategies that work for conventional markets often don't work for CCs. They hate what they see on TV and are readers and radio listeners. In focus groups, they tear TV ads and news spots apart for lack of logic and consistency. Moderns, on the other hand, are just fine with the eye candy on TV. The stock in trade of conventional advertising agencies leaves CCs cold or ticks them off. Okay, really important. So when we create web pages that look like this, which are authentic, which not overly pushy, cultural creatives respond in really, really, really good ways. So of course, this was the letter that we got from on that particular website. Bro, tell your team that the work they did in creating the creation method is outstanding. I'm not talking about just the course. I'll get to that in a second. I'm talking about the stylistic design, the copywriting. It's all amazing and inspiring. I'm one of the pickiest people you'll know about what is good quality and what is crap, and your team is consistently on fire. He's a cultural creative. Cultural creatives tend to have good BS detectors as well on conventional advertising. I'm hypnotized, Vishen, hypnotized. Give your team my gratitude. So Sean Patrick Simpson is a cultural creative. Now, consciousness movements. Cultural creatives are really, really, really all about consciousness movements. In other words, helping others, self-actualization, meditation retreats, events, spiritual psychology. So you can see that in terms of approval on these, they score significantly higher than non-CCs. Take, for example, the alternative healthcare movement. 52% of CCs embrace it, 33% of non-CCs embrace it. And where do they live? They live in, it's really easy to find out where they live. You simply get on Google Trends and you type in a term like energy healing. And you'll start to see the cities where this term gets searched on most. Hawaii, New Mexico, Oregon, Honolulu, Denver, Seattle, Portland. These are places where cultural creatives live. Interestingly enough, I've lived in a lot of these cities. Or another term I use, meditation. Pleasanton, California, I lived there. San Francisco, I lived there. Seattle, I lived there. New York, I lived there. San Diego, I want to live there. It's kind of weird. They are readers and radio listeners much more than television listeners. Cultural creatives buy more books and magazines, listen to more radio, including classical music and National Public Radio, and watch less television than any other group. About half of them are regular book buyers, which is far more than the general public. They are literate and discriminating and dislike most of what is on TV. They demand good information and have exceptionally good deception detectors for ads and misleading corporate or political claims in the media. They are particularly unhappy with the quality of TV news. Among cultural creatives, fewer and fewer people own TVs. I really think the TV industry is going to be going through a massive, the cable industry is going to be going through a massive downturn. Whole process, stories, whole process and systems. CCs appreciate good stories and want views of the whole process of whatever they are reading, from cereal boxes to product descriptions to magazine articles. They like a systems overview. They want to know where a product came from, how it was made, who made it, what will happen to it when they are done with it. They hate to read mail or articles that come in bullet points and race to the bottom line, unless they are time pressed and don't care much about the topic. They want symbols that go deep. And more than most Americans, they actively dislike advertising and children's TV. So one lesson over here is you want to go deep with your advertising message. You want to share stories. Here's an example of a brand that really resonates well with cultural creatives, Innocent. So a couple of months back, people in Britain who went to buy Innocent smoothies from the store found that their smoothies were wearing caps. And these caps were actually knitted by ladies in an old folks home. And every time you bought a smoothie with a cap, Innocent would donate 50 cents to the old folks home. Cultural creatives completely snapped this up. The guy who invented Innocent smoothies, even if you look at the back of Innocent, in terms of ingredients and how it's made, it's really cute. It says, we promise that we manufactured this smoothie with lots of love. We promise that we are polite to our mothers and that you're getting a quality product. Cultural creatives love that kind of thing. They love the backstory. And so when we launch something like Mindvalley Insights and we talk about why we're open sourcing our business, even though that video is 8 minutes, people love it. And that's another message. When you are creating stuff for cultural creatives, don't worry about making it short. They want to get the story. I'm not saying make it unusually long, but I'm saying make sure the story is in there. It applies to the way you write copy. It applies to the way you create video. It applies to the story behind your company. If you look at Mindvalley, we are a company perfectly poised to be loved in that cultural creative market because Mindvalley is all about stories. Everything we do is about the Mindvalley story. And we infuse that story in our products, in our marketing, on our website, in our recruiting drive. Authenticity, okay, desire for authenticity. CCs are the ones who brought the criterion of authenticity to the marketplace. They led the consumer rebellion against things that are plastic, fake, imitation, poorly made, throwaway, cliche style or high fashion. If they buy something in a traditional style, they want it to be authentically traditional, like Smith & Hawken garden tools speak to this desire for authenticity, as does much of the natural food industry. So let me show you something, right? This is an old Mindvalley product, something that was marketed and sold in 2007. Cultural creatives, including me, hate this. Why? Because it's wrapped in plastic. I don't care that it protects the covering. Plastic just is icky. It's bad. In the cultural creative mind, plastic is bad for the planet. When you take out these CDs, they are in plastic cases. Again, icky and bad. One more thing about cultural creatives, they love their bookshelf. Their bookshelf is like a piece of art. They want to proudly demonstrate what they buy. Now, this is not bad, but it's not art either. This is where we made it art. There's no plastic in here. It's completely recycled cardboard, and it's beautifully designed. It's designed for the cultural creative. And now we are changing all our products to look like it. Notice, complete absence of plastic. Traditional marketers might say, well, you know what, Vishen, if both these things were on a shelf, this is half the size of this. So this looks like it has more value. True, but this is also worse for the environment, and cultural creatives know that. They don't like big packaging. They abhor it. So if we were marketing to cultural creatives, what you want to say is, this product contains tons of value, but we deliberately make it half the size of other products. Why? Because we kill half as many trees. And something as simple as that will make them fall more in love with your brand and your company. When we create membership sites like this for the creation method, this is good. Cultural creatives love this because it's beautifully designed. It's beautifully designed, it's aesthetic, it speaks to them. And that's something that's really, really important. Okay, they're careful consumers. CCs are the kind of people who buy and use consumer reports on most consumer durable goods like appliances, cars, consumer electronics. For the most part, they are careful, well-informed shoppers who do not buy on impulse. They like to research a product first, and practically the only consumers who regularly read labels. When a cultural creative comes to a website, they care about things like this. See this, find this on Facebook. When we started adding this to our websites, at least on one site, sales went up 70+%. 70+% from just the Facebook FaceFile badge. That particular author had 10,000 fans. And cultural creatives recognize this. To them, this is evidence that the product works because of those fans. When we added this, over 35,000 have changed their lives with quantum jumping. Have you? Leave a review. And we made it open so anyone could click on that, go to a review page and leave a review. Again, sales went up 20%. That's really, really, really cool. One more thing you want to be conscious of, type in your name on Google or your author's name if you're a publisher and see what shows up, because I guarantee you your cultural creative market is doing this. And if you have stuff in the front page of Google that is ugly or crap, get rid of it. Sometimes you'll find torrents, sometimes you'll find affiliate marketers, you know, who do that douchey trick where they add the word scam at the back of your product because they know people instantly will click on that link, and then they'll talk about why it's not a scam, then ask you to buy it with their affiliate link. That's really bad. But cultural creatives research this stuff. So you always want to make sure that you are scanning the front page of Google for your keyword, your key search terms, and making sure that what shows up is clean and neat. Okay, soft innovation. They are not the technology innovators who buy the latest and greatest in computers. Many are just getting into the internet. Now, of course, this was at the time the book was written. Now, of course, most of them are already on the internet. But they are at the leading edge of many cultural innovations. CCs tend to be innovators and opinion leaders for some knowledge-intensive products, however, including magazines, fine food, wines, boutiques, beer. So they tend to be innovators that come up with stuff that is not technology innovation, but stuff that's cultural innovation. I'll give you an example. Cultural creatives created the seminar industry. Cultural creatives created transformational festivals. Cultural creatives created Whole Foods. These are not tech innovations. It's not Yahoo or Google, but it's innovations that were cultural innovations. Interior decor. This is really interesting. Interior decor for CCs is typically eclectic with lots of original art on the walls and craft pieces around the house. Many of them seem to think a house is not properly decorated without a lot of books. The same house that vanishes from the street should be personalized so that it shows on the inside who they are. Status displays happen inside the house, not outside. Though it is not blatant, it is a display of personal good taste and creative sense of style. CCs would not buy a single decorator style that goes through the whole house. Now, if you think about the Mindvalley office, this office is designed for CCs. It's designed to appeal to CCs. It's all about interior design. And this was really part of our brand. Our office is part of our brand. People constantly talk about the office. It's because CCs, which are predominantly our audience, care about these aesthetics. And it also applies to your website. Beautiful websites sell more. So I've had people tell me, you know what, Vishen, I tested plain text copy with beautiful copy, and plain text won. And I'd ask them, what is your market? And they'd say, I was selling a business product, how to get rich product, or a multi-level marketing product. That's a different market. Well, some of those buyers may be cultural creatives, but by and large, if you're selling straight to the cultural creatives, aesthetics matter. They care about how the product looks and feels. Okay, travel. The leading edge of vacation travel. CCs define the leading edge of vacation travel that is exotic, adventuresome, without too much danger, educational, experiential, authentic, altruistic, and/or spiritual. They like tours of temples in India, tours of the backcountry where tourists don't go, ecotourism, photo safaris, fantasy baseball camps, save the baby seal vacations, help rebuild a Mayan village vacations. They don't go for package tours, fancy resorts, or cruises. We are finding this to be really true. Take Shine On Sierra Leone. So after our Awesomeness Fest, we helped Tiffany Persons, who's the nonprofit leader who runs Shine on Sierra Leone, talk about the trip that she organizes for Americans to come to Sierra Leone, meet with the people in the villages, play with the kids, help with the education of that country. And she just wrote to me this morning to talk about how she's so excited because so many people signed up from Awesomeness Fest that she has a full trip coming up. Awesomeness Fest people who are cultural creatives, because they are customers, love stuff like this. Okay, experiential consumers. Many CCs are the prototypical consumers of the experience industry, which offers a more intense, enlivening experience rather than a particular product. Examples include weekend workshops, spiritual gatherings, personal growth experiences, experiential vacations, the vacation as spiritual tour, or the vacation as self-discovery. By the way, Awesomeness Fest is a vacation as self-discovery. The providers of these services have to be CCs too, or they can't do it authentically. Kiss of death. And so one sometimes gets the impression that everyone is taking in everyone else's wash or workshops, which is really interesting because when you attend the seminar industry, you always end up meeting people you know because they also attend seminars. It's because they are CCs. They love these type of experiential things. And you'll see this in our customers as well. Awesomeness Fest, designed solely for CCs. CCs flock to it. When I try to tell my modernist friends about it, they're like, oh man, I don't know if I can make the time. I got a business to run. But CCs love this. And the other thing about Awesomeness Fest is it creates tribes. So people who attend Awesomeness Fest arrange meetups in their city. That is Awesomeness Fest meetup in Maui during Thanksgiving. People who attended Awesomeness Fest actually decided that they wanted to spend Thanksgiving together. And they organized their own meetup. They even had a giant sign. And that's them somewhere outdoors with beautiful like candle lights, just having a great time. Holistic everything. CCs that are prototypical innovators in and consumers of personal growth psychotherapy, alternative healthcare, and natural food. What ties these together is a belief in holistic health. Body, mind, spirit are to be unified. CCs are forever sorting out the weird from the innovative. Some CCs are those whose unsympathetic physicians describe them as the worried well, who monitor every twitch and pain and bowel movement in a minutely detailed attention to the body. This tendency may be why CCs spend more on alternative healthcare and regular healthcare, even though most are fairly healthy, which is really interesting. They tend to be healthy, but they spend the most on alternative healthcare. But again, maybe this is why they are healthy. So they are called the worried well. Our customers are healthier, wealthier, and more well put together than most Americans. I believe this is precisely because they buy personal growth material, and it's why they continue to buy it. Advice on Marketing the Cultural Creatives by Kimberly McCall, who is with Ethos Marketing. So this is from a blog post that Kimberly McCall wrote. So here are a couple of tips. Number one, have a strong need to understand the big picture. Explain why you're doing this. So I was talking to Jay Abraham, who's one of the top marketing consultants in the world. And we were talking about the page that a customer sees after they buy a marketing product. And Jay said, Vishen, you know, the problem with you is you're so passionate when you talk about how you want to change the world and why Mindvalley exists. But I bet you do not tell that to your actual customers. You tell it to your partners, to authors, to your employees, but not your customers. And I realized he's right. Our customers don't know about our big plans. Our customers, after they buy a product, don't really know that we want to get enlightened ideas out to 500 million lives. But the thing is, they want to know. They care. They want to see the big picture. So we're going to be changing the thank you pages on Mindvalley products to have a little video that comes up that explains why Mindvalley does what it does and why we exist and why we are happy to have them as a customer and what they just got themselves into. They want to know the story behind the story, and they have BS detectors unlike any other group. So never go for like marketing that's really pushy. So for example, Veena was telling me about one of our partners who said she loves the website for the creation method, but she will not promote it because of the headline. Because the headline says, how to write a best-selling book in 60 minutes. It's not really, it's how to craft a best-selling book in 60 minutes, how to come up with the outline. But that tiny distinction matters to them. It matters to me. We need to get that headline changed. That was an oversight. And it wasn't something that was good. You want to be really, really, really careful about things like that. Okay? They want to discover brands that align with their personal values. Because of this desire for authenticity, they are distrustful of most advertising and mass media. And that's one thing that we do at Mindvalley and that any publisher can do. We constantly talk about our values. That's why we made Awesomeness Fest a non-profit. That's why we made Mindvalley Insights an open source way for people to copy, borrow, and use Mindvalley ideas and technologies. We embrace the open source movement. We embrace the NGOs. We launched the Mindvalley Foundation. Our customers care about this. This is why Mindvalley gets more love from our customers than almost any other publishing company out there. They will vigorously work to understand before they buy. They are the consumers in supermarkets who are diligently reading the back of the label, the side of the label, and maybe what's underneath the label. This is important on a website as well. Where's the About Us page? Where is the bio of the author? Where is the about the publishing company that publishes this product? Our customers care about that. Many people forget about that. They go for a single page selling a product. It doesn't work anymore. For cultural creatives, they want to know the story behind your company, the story behind your product. They will dig in deep. Are very interested in sustainable solutions and answers. Community, environment, social justice are really important to them. They will support brands that align with these authentic values and shun those that do not. Interesting fact, since Mindvalley started embracing these values, a customer lifetime value, that means the average amount of money a customer spends in Mindvalley over a 2-year span, shot up. The average customer at Mindvalley now will come back and spend 3 times. It's really remarkable. Most publishing companies of our size don't have that. And it, again, is because of the values. Mindvalley customers love our values. And that's even despite the fact that we don't fully get these values out in a cool way to most of our customers. Like I said, we have to update our thank you page, update our membership website to talk about why we exist, why we do what we do. They are strong supporters of quality and prefer to buy from a small producer versus the established larger norm. Fresh Samantha before Kraft, Coffee by Design before Folgers. Another thing to keep in mind. See their bodies as temples and accordingly seek out more holistic health solutions. They see a physician as an advisor, not an expert, and will research all solutions before following the advice of a physician. They may seek out hybrid cars and are the first to get involved in community issues. Now, tips on communicating with cultural creatives. Tell the truth and be authentic. Really important. Large, powerful BS detectors. Share stories versus slick ad slogans. Allow cultural creatives to experience your journey. Cultural creatives don't like to be manipulated. Avoid shallow bullet feature copy. This is something else we are noticing. Firstly, every time we've tested it, long copy has beat short copy. And studies have also shown that women will spend more time reading long copy. So don't worry about long copy being distasteful. There are ways to create it in your website through tabs or through multiple pages. But it's not so much about the long copy, it's more about the amount of information you're getting the customer. And you really want to deliver a lot of information. You want to do it in a way that is that allows them to experience your journey. Here's what I mean by that. The last big launch we did was Unlimited Abundance with an author called Christy Marie Sheldon. One of the things we did in this launch, which was really cool and helped it become the biggest Mindvalley product launch in our 8-year history, was the fact that we showed behind-the-scenes video footage of Christy Marie Sheldon working with her clients. We interviewed the clients. We got feedback on how that initial session had changed their lives. The customers got to go behind the scenes, and it worked really, really well. Okay? Speak to them in the first person. Allow them to learn about you versus telling them. Cultural creatives love to drill down on the web, for example, to learn the story behind the story. They like to follow their own path to discovery. Another way of doing this is the website as a hub model. Your website simply becomes a hub for your YouTube channel, your Twitter feed, your Facebook fan page, and the story of your company and your brand is all across this. But remember, you can't fake the story. It has to be authentic. It has to be real. And if it is authentic and real, be sure to share it with your customer. Some marketers have told me, Vishen, customers don't care about that. They are wrong. Customers do. They really, really care about the values behind the company. It's not just about what's in it for them. It's about, does this resonate with my values? Now, finally, provide sustainable solutions that reflect their values. Look at your product mix and communication strategies. So here's what happens when you understand cultural creatives, right? When we wanted to go in the seminar industry, we didn't just want to create a personal growth seminar, we wanted to create the personal growth seminar. I believe Awesomeness Fest in a few years will be the #1 personal growth seminar on the planet. nothing will come close. I don't mean in terms of number of delegates, because we don't ever want to go beyond 300, but I mean in terms of the quality and the impact it has on people's lives. And why? Because to really cater to the cultural creative market, we took Awesomeness Fest and we made it unique. For example, you'll notice the attention to design. The website, the videos, it's all beautifully designed. If you go for most other seminars, their websites look like crap. We talked about community. Awesomeness Fest has meetups around the world. After the event, the customers come together in Maui or San Diego or LA or San Francisco and get together for drinks. They connect with each other. Cultural creatives love meetups. They love connecting. Awesomeness Fest has a value system, a value of democracy. There's no VIP seating. Everyone is equal. Speakers don't even get a special speaker room. Speakers are expected to be there amidst the delegation and mingle with people. Their profits for Awesomeness Fest are donated to NGOs that directly appeal to the cultural creatives. And the entire thing is extremely open and democratic. On the Awesomeness Fest Facebook fan page, we ask the audience, we ask our customers for their advice on locations, their advice on even a new logo or a new website. We ask them for suggestions on speakers. We crowdsource the event with our audience. They love that. They want to be part of that big picture. And again, if you look at the Awesomeness Fest website, the story is really told. We spend more time on the Awesomeness Fest website telling the story of Awesomeness Fest than actually talking about the benefits. It's interesting, but if you go there, you'll see it's 70% story, 30% benefits. But it works. The last event, almost sold out. There were like 3 available spots because people canceled at the last minute, but it almost sold out. And this year we don't even really have the event planned yet, and people are banging on our door waiting to buy tickets for that event. So one of the reasons A-Fest became so epic is because if you look at it, it directly caters to that cultural creative crowd. Okay, so again, if you're a publisher and author, if you understand these models, very rapidly you can see how you can innovate upon your business to get more love from that CC tribe. And it's really important. Once you can do this, you will see everything about your business change. It becomes easier to make a sale. It becomes easier to attract people. It becomes easier to have your customers come back and buy from you again and again. Thanks. And if you like this presentation, leave a comment below. Thanks.